So, today I have a very special guest here at the Cherry Farm, Kathy Stoll. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you, Alina.
I'm so glad you're here tonight, or today. Sorry for you, it's morning.
It's bright and early here. It looks like
It
it's
is.
night. It's so dark and gloomy outside today.
Well, the night is starting here in Ireland anyway, so we're at two different time zones.
I
So
know.
Kathy is, yeah, Kathy is the author of the popular blog Bliss Beyond Nap Time, and she's also a Mama Bliss coach. So, Kathy, could you tell us exactly what a Mama Bliss coach is doing? What do you do?
Sure. Sure. Mama Bliss Coaching, how that came to be. I started off with my Simplicity Parenting Leader offerings I've been offering. I got certified as a Simplicity Parenting Leader a few years ago and began offering workshops in my community. And then I began offering them as an e-course offering. And I just found how leaning on simplicity principles really can bring a lot of ease and flow to the day, which trickles into side effects of just having a house and a home that has so much more room to breathe and for everyone to kind of fall back into their glorious at ease selves. And I find it's especially important not only for children, just to take away a lot of those low grade stressors that could come out as behavioral issues and worst case scenarios, diagnosis of some kind of disorder. So children just come back to their naturally adorable, quirky selves, and mamas find themselves with the tools at hand to create space in their days to follow what I call their bliss. And what I mean by the bliss is just whatever replenishes your energy. Like mothering is such a giving, giving expenditure task that it's just so important for mama to just recognize and remember what her bliss is. And I find too that it's often just a matter of remembering. We have it within us. We just have to make those reminders in the day. And and the simplicity principles are great ways to design those reminders into our everyday. And that's what
Oh,
Mama Bliss is. Yeah, coaching. So I coach mamas to create that space in their days to fill up their tanks.
that sounds great, Kathy. And could you share your favorite tips for simplifying mamahood, especially in those early years, maybe when life can seem crazy and overwhelming at times?
Totally. No, that is a great question. And it comes, I've been doing a lot of talks in my community too. Um, yes. So what I think the easiest way is to just pay attention to a child's natural craving for some rhythm into the day. So that could be as simple, like it sounds like when you say, get more routine or schedule, this just sounds so rigid, but I love that word rhythm because it has such an organic flow to it. So I like to look at it as a rhythm as natural as taking an in breath and an out breath and just seesawing between those two activities. So what I mean by in breath and out breath is, in breath could be something a little bit more coming into oneself. So just cuddling on the couch, having a nap, quiet moments, reading as a family. Out breath is going out into the world. So just finding your social needs met, going out for a walk, like literally going out. But my tips for real young moms is I like to look at it as breaking up pauses, like finding your thing. So I call it your thing. So find your morning thing, your afternoon thing, and an evening thing. So that just kind of is another take on, the whole routine scheduling rhythm. So with really young ones, I remember when my littles were littler, especially my daughter, because it was just me and her. And so pick out one morning thing and then just see if you can aim for that. So our morning thing, and I still, it's super clear in my head, was one thing that I just would focus on was me taking a shower And a ritual was I would put a big fluffy towel on the floor so she can kind of see me. And then after a shower, I made a massage oil for her, and I could still smell it just thinking about it. It contained lavender and blue chamomile and a little touch of tea tree, I think. Anyways, it was a delicious smell. So that was our morning thing. She would watch me take a shower, and I would poke my head through the curtain and make funny faces, and she would laugh, and then the room was all steamy after and warm, and then I would just massage her with this baby oil. And it was so cute because I felt like I really grew intimate with her body. I could tell when she was growing because it was like, oh my God, it's taking me longer to massage her back. And these fingers, I would massage her little butt cheeks. Oh, it was fun. Pick an afternoon thing. And again, I remember, it was really sweet. And it's different with every kid. I never did that with my son. We had a different morning thing. But with Edie, our afternoon thing is we would go for a walk. So, we would just have the morning just to relax. And that took a lot of pressure. It wasn't like this big, we have to do this, now we have to do that. Now, at that age, it's easier if you just keep it as simple as just one thing. In the afternoon, when it was a bit warmer outside, then we would go for a walk, and we'd have a destination, so it felt more like a thing. Our thing was to go to Starbucks. That was a nice distance away back then where we lived in the city. And then an evening thing, and it doesn't have to be a production. Some people give their kids baths in the evening. I'm not a kid bather. Never been good at that. So instead, I know some people. Exactly. It's like, okay, you got mushrooms growing out of your ears. It's time to harvest them in the tub. Yeah. And so our evening thing was just simply one bedtime CD that we still listen to this day, like 8 years later. It's this, Lullabies from Around the World CD. And I listen to it to this day. I get a little teary-eyed thinking of it. It takes me back to when she was a baby when we first started playing it. And it's our evening thing to this day. And it's always changing, of course.
Oh, that's nice. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing that. So another thing is you're a very creative person. You love knitting and you love sewing clothes for yourself and for your family. Making soap. You were selling your own soap at some stage, I think a few years ago. Yeah. And writing your blog and doing loads of other things. So how were you able to fit in all those things into your day while looking after your 2 young children and homeschooling them younger even?
Totally. Yeah. When they were, when Edie was younger, I was homeschooling her for 3 years. So obviously I'm not doing all those things now. I actually sold my soap business when Edie was about 3 years old. She's almost 9 now. So looking at all my creative interests, I just noticed that there's kind of a season to them all. So, for instance, when Edie was a baby, that was my soap making season of my life. And then when she was a bit older, I got heavily into a sewing season. So, yeah, just so I'm just kind of noticing how even now we had a major move in our life. Literally, we moved from this one house to this one. So that was a major move for us. And we did things backwards. We sold all our things once we moved. And we're like, ooh, everything won't fit in here. We're going to have to sell some stuff. And so I actually sold my spinning wheel. I actually used to sell art yarn. So that was a really symbolic season shift for me. Okay, the spinning season has passed. Being selective with what I want to pour my time and energy in. But I'm still pretty hyper creative. I love knitting, I love sewing, and I love my work, which I see as a big creative practice because a lot of writing's involved, a lot of marketing, a lot of like stuff to come out, e-course creating, etc. So what works for me to balance it with family and kids around is leaning on what's worked for me in the past. So just remembering when I was homeschooling, what really helped me was to actually write down our days. So at 8 o'clock, we're going to go for a walk. So, it's different from when they're babies. It was a little bit more, okay, it's school time now. And just writing it down, but not adhering it to it too rigidly, allowing some flexibility and flow there. And just paying attention to what my prime energy times are and what's appropriate. So with work, what's appropriate for me, because, we have kind of like little Waldorf kids, I homeschooled using a Waldorf approach, and they're at the Waldorf school now, and they kind of like frown upon screen time. So I feel awkward if they see me on the computer too much. So the way I balanced it was to challenge myself to be on the computer, do the computer related tasks while they're sleeping, or sometimes I would hire a babysitter, or on Saturdays, for instance, my husband takes them out for adventures or outside something while, I do a lot of my writing on Saturdays as well, and now they're in school, so I do that when they're at school. And my days with them, like tomorrow, Sunday, and that's when I do a lot of sewing, so they see me sewing, or on the weekends in general, just try to be more offline. And on the big seasonal scale, I kind of been saving my knitting these days for the cooler months. I'm here in Canada, so it's too hot in the summer to be, have this giant pile of sheep on your lap. So so I save knitting for when it starts to get a little crisp in the air, and then it's this newfound energy. So and then I'm finding too, knitting's a nighttime when my energy's tapped for thinking. I love just watching shameless TV episodes on DVDs, and knit away. Just turn my brain off and knit simple things.
Yeah, oh, that's lovely. Yeah, so it's rhythm again that you mentioned. Do you have any advice for us how to get a nice flowing rhythm to our days?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Okay, so similar to the prior advice, so is just begin with writing it out. So be kind of a little nerdy that way. It's so funny. I look at my old homeschooling journals. It's like every few pages there's like a new schedule written out. So finding out what works. So just keep trying. So I would write down like 8 o'clock, wake up, have breakfast, 9 o'clock, go for a walk. And then, a few pages later, like 10 o'clock, go for a walk. So just paying attention to what feels right. And with small kids, their internal rhythms are always changing. Like eventually they're going to drop a nap. So just seeing the bright side of those changes. For instance, everyone's like, oh no, my baby's not napping. There goes all my free time. And I was celebrating when they stopped napping, because that means they go to bed earlier. So I love that early bedtime. So my advice would be to, just pay attention. The easiest way is to pay attention to the in-breath and out-breath. So, and make sure that they're kind of overlapping with each other. The best ways I find is to build a rhythm around what you can't avoid, which is, meal times and bedtimes. And then just sprinkle little, if you don't want to call it, I like to call them like rituals throughout the day. So you have pick a time to have breakfast and try to adhere to it. It really does bring much comfort to everyone. It's easier to plan the day. A lunchtime, a dinner time. I'm not much of a snacker because I feel that it's just too much to do. And then I don't know, my kids, if they want to eat a snack, I just hand them a banana, something they can peel themselves. And and then other than that, be gentle on yourself if it doesn't flow. And make room for moments just to be. Like, for instance, yesterday we came back from picking up my daughter from her dance class, and I was driving home thinking all I want to do is just like lie in bed and read a People magazine. Guilty pleasure. I know. I had to fill up the gas, and I saw a People magazine there. I'm like, ooh. And then So I told the kids, because 4 o'clock is the time I start making dinner, and I was just like, kids, I gotta like lie down for 15 minutes, and and they're super respectful of that. They could tell Mama needed an in breath, like a deep in breath. It was a busy day yesterday, and I came out of that room full of useless information on celebrities and just ready to start cooking a delicious meal.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing a course as well, on an e-course on rhythm, or like on simplicity parenting,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah, you're doing on this book. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I was saying, I took the training to become a simplicity leader, and I've been getting out in my community. What I've been noticing, though, is such an important message. This book, I highly recommend it. It's such a great read, so easy to read, and then and everyone's interested in it. But I've been finding every time I've been trying to bring this into live workshops, the attendance has been really low. I think it's tricky for moms to, all agree on a time to be somewhere physically together. So that's what's great about it as an e-course offering. So you scoop it up on my website, and immediately you have access to all 4 levels of simplification. The first one is the environment. So we look at ways of tapping into our values and ensuring that what we welcome into our home in a physical sense is a reflection. We're not inundating ourselves and our children with too much choices. And again, that can be a result of too much stuff. Like, what are we going to wear? What book do you want to read? It's just too much choices. It's just that constant, low level stress, and you can suffer from fatigue from that. So yeah, and also is in alignment with the Waldorf philosophy of surrounding children with beauty until, that's the first thing you want to, hone in on. So, and then we look at the rhythm. There's a rhythm module, and where we bring the beauty of the environment to life by breathing in with that in-breath and out-breath of, just that very comforting rituals of offering the children and mama some predictability, just even though times are stressful, we're all going to be sitting down for lunch and just take a breather here. So I find that has been a huge principle for me to lean on in times of chaos. And then after that, scheduling. So that's a way to protect our rhythm, making sure we're not overtaxing ourselves with too much on our plates and daytimers. And finally, the filtering module, which we look at screen time and media's effect on not just our children's exposure to it and their anxiety, but especially mama's anxiety. I'm just noticing, talking to clients, there's this underlying low-grade anxiety, and for me, I noticed it was from exposure to too much bad news, and also just what are we welcoming into our homes in terms of marketing and what kind of values those are pressing upon parents and children alike. So just protecting our values from big corporations or anything.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Ooh, and actually, sorry, on that note, I just want to share with your readers that I offer this cool program called Simplicity Parenting Parent Body. I just started doing this, and it's been pretty fun. If you get some for $800, if you get a bunch of families in your school together, you can just split the cost. And then I do a weekly call with your school parents. So we have a private conference call. So if you ever, if you're interested in that, just email me. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and tell more about your brilliant offerings, because you have e-courses, different ones, as you told us, and you have coaching packages available.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Thanks, Alina. Yeah. So the Mama Bliss approach, it's all about simplifying your life so you can cultivate more bliss. So ways you can cultivate your bliss. If sewing's your bliss, I offer a So Blissful Mama e-course. So If you're into sewing, there's lots of videos and downloadable patterns to, yeah, some comfy country clothes. I used to call it the Backwoods Mama Sew Camp. So bloomers and smocks and such. As well as my coaching. Again, I have two packages, one called Simplifying Mamahood. So we will go one-on-one with creating and designing a beautiful flow to your day and what works for you, because it's completely unique for each mama and family. And the other coaching package is the Work at Home Mama Bliss package. So I can help you design and be strategic about implementing a work from home situation that meshes your passions and your medicine with, yeah, bringing it out to the world in a really loving, organic, feminine, hear me roar gently kind of way.
That sounds absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Kathy.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. So, I really loved everything you shared with us today, so that was brilliant.
No, totally
you,
the pleasure. The pleasure was all mine. This was super fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and have a great weekend.
You too, sweetie.